Welcome to the Beyond Thundera podcast. I am Sean Buddha McKeone, author of the Hall of Omens and Hall of Omens Thunderverse, and I am joined by the one and only writer, script consultant, that is consultant, I looked it up since one of our last shows, and showrunner, Peter Lawrence. And today we've got a very special guest with us who you may not have known this, but you have heard his work hundreds, if not thousands of times if you've watched ThunderCats, SilverHawks, or even in music in general. But we are also joined today with Pete Cannarozzi. Pete, thank you for being here.
Gentlemen, what a pleasure to be with the both of you.
It's good to have you.
Right. So now let me do a little explaining as far as how people have heard your work hundreds, if not thousands of times. So Pete, you actually, you did a whole lot on ThunderCats and SilverHawks, and even some work on the comic strip stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But not only did you do the sound effects on all the shows, I'm throwing pens over here. You worked on the sound effects. You also played the keyboard on the ThunderCats and SilverHawks intros.
Correct.
Which is absolutely incredible. So people have heard your music over and over and over again, because I don't know if anybody has looked, but on the YouTube, and look up ThunderCats intro on YouTube. I mean, there's probably millions of views those things get, which is absolutely incredible. And then also, one of the things you're doing now, you've also been the organist for the New Jersey Devils for, has it been 25 years now, or?
Yes, 25. This is my 25th season. I started in 2001.
Oh, wow. We definitely want to talk about that, but let's go right into ThunderCats and SilverHawks, because I guess I left out that one minor detail, that you were also the voice of Copper Kid in SilverHawks.
Yes. Well, as far as everyone hearing my music, lest we not forget the incredible Bernie Hoffer, the composer of that music which I performed. I mean, this guy was an orchestrator and arranger, a tremendous human being, and I really miss seeing him and hanging out with him in the studio with the orchestra and everything. But as far as my part was, I was a studio musician in New York City, and I met Bernie on a jingle session, and he said, "Hey, we're working on this TV show. Why don't you come and play some keys for me?" And wow, it went from that to that. It was really incredible. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. It was definitely months and months in the studio, and then we spent even more time, hours and hours, just compiling a sound effects library, so the editors could go back and go to a bank. This is a whoosh. This is a sparkle. This is an explosion. This is this. This is that. They can go back and they could lay those in their video timeline, to complete all the audio for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, how did you, when you're recording sound effects, did you have a list, or did you look at a few scripts first, or was it just random? And how much of that was you? Well, actually, I don't mean it in a competitive way, but I mean, did Bernie do any of that, or was it entirely you, or how did that work?
It was totally random. I mean, because we didn't see anything. We didn't see picture. We had a script, a rough script that Lee Dannacher was working with us on. By the way, Lee Dannacher, the amazing producer of the show. And Bernie would say, "Pete, give me this kind of sound, like so something like this. I'll play you something. Give me a sound effect." And I would go in my keyboard and I would program that sound. Or let's see, he would ask me for this, like a keyboard sound to mimic the orchestra. It would always be random, totally random. I need a whoosh, I need this, I needed that. And then I will be working on it. And as I'm working on it, tweaking the sound, getting the pitch right. he would say, "Stop. Don't improve it. Let's record." We would record it just like that because he knew what he wanted when he wanted it, and that's what we went with.
Well, I remember in talking to you before that was one of his great phrases, "Don't improve it."
Yeah.
And I tell you what I like about that is that so much of this business is no longer improvised,
Yes.
whatever it is, whether it's dialogue, whatever it is.
You're right.
And I think it's also crucial, and I don't know whether the people watching know this or whether they even care, but the Rankin Bass system was very different from Hollywood, from Los Angeles. And basically, we didn't see anything until much later in the game. It's almost like having, when you got a bad connection in Zoom or whatever it is, and you see yourself speaking, but the voice doesn't actually happen till later, or the other way around for that matter. And I don't know. I think it made you concentrate more, and it also gave you more freedom.
Exactly, Peter, you're exactly right. My focus was there, and it gave me the creative freedom to have my input in what I think Bernie was trying to achieve. So, yeah, that's really the way it went. Except, of course, when we were doing the actual music in the studio with the orchestra,
Right.
that was written out on music paper. Everybody was reading music. So
Right.
that's the
Right.
other side of it. That was, because that came from Bernie sitting at the piano playing ThunderCats. That was him in front of Rankin Bass's studio office piano saying, "Hey, I want to use this for the theme song." Okay. And then he would go home, orchestrate it. He would have an orchestrator assistant who would produce all the parts and pass them out to the orchestra, and we would rehearse it and record it.
Was Bernie actually an arranger as well, or did he just compose?
Oh,
I mean,
he was both. He was a composer, he was an orchestrator, and he was an arranger. I mean, there's a distinct difference between the three of those. Like, um, some people are just composers. Okay, then they will go to their orchestrator and say, "I want this to sound with violins and a brass section," or "I want this to sound with a keyboard and an upright bass." And then
Right.
that's the orchestration part. And then the arranger part is, okay, I want it to be a verse, a chorus, and a verse, and then a
Right.
bridge, and then an interlude. That's the arranger part. So all those things kind of mesh together.
Did he have the lyrics in front of him when he composed, or did Jules write? I mean, I guess
Classically, traditionally, the lyrics came first. So maybe Jules would say, "ThunderCats, ThunderCats are on the move, ThunderCats," or "Wings of silver, nerves
Right.
of steel." He would, and then, but he wouldn't sing it. He would just say, "Wings of silver, nerves of steel, ThunderCats are on," and then the composer comes up with the melody
Right.
to match the lyrics.
Right.
That's the
then
traditional way.
And sometimes you adjust the lyrics to whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You would manage what we call phrasing. So "ThunderCats are on the move," or "ThunderCats are on the move." That's phrasing,
Yeah.
to fit your style.
One thing I like about everything that we've discussed so far, and in fact, beyond the podcast, is that most people are very sort of collegial about their colleagues. I mean, you're very appreciative of Bernie and his talent, and we appreciate Len and so on and so forth, and the various writers. But I'd like to know more about you. How did you start this whole journey? I'm not talking about ThunderCats. I mean, the whole musical journey of Pete.
I started when I was a boy, probably about 8 or 9 years old, and I had a bunch of friends, and we started a Beatles band.
Really?
Yes. So, I had like this little home Casio type Sears Roebuck organ that was my keyboard, and of course, Billy Preston eventually became the Beatles keyboard player, but because I didn't play guitar, bass, or drums. So we had guitar, bass, and drums, John Lennon, Paul, George and Ringo, and I was like the fifth Beatle because after a while, Billy Preston had all those great parts that he created for all the songs, like um, he would add all those parts, right?
Right.
And then I went from there. I was a Catholic school boy, and Sister Mary Humeline heard that I could play the organ, and she goes, "Peter, we want you to play for Mass." This was when I was 11 years old. We want you to play for Mass. We want you to play for weddings. We want you to play for funerals. But sister, I have baseball practice. You could go to baseball practice after Mass. So I started really get to playing when I was in church, 11. And
At the age of 11.
at 11, right. At the age of 12, my parents realized my talent and started booking gigs for me. I was gigging at the Foreign Legion fish fry on a Friday night. My father would help me carry this huge organ. I mean, it was like 400 pounds. He would order a truck with a lift gate. We would lift it up, wheel it into the place, and I would play music. Like, hang on a second. Something like this. All those songs that my parents grew up with.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
that was like an organ sound. I would play organ, that kind of thing. And then after that, I ended up taking music lessons because I was all by ear, completely by ear. I ended up taking music lessons.
Really?
And then, I learned sort of to read music. And then the place that I was taking music lessons at said, "Well, we want you to teach," because I could do stuff that nobody else could do because I played by ear, right?
Wow.
So then I did that. And then eventually I went to university. I studied music at Indiana State University. I was a music theory and composition major. In my junior year, there was a note on the bulletin board said looking for an organist at the Holiday Inn. So yeah, I want that job. I was like, what, 17, 18, playing in clubs. There was an organ there. I played, I got hired. And then the keyboard player got sick. And then they ended up hiring me, and I went on the road. And then I went on the road. I traveled with all these different bands and ended up meeting a guy from New York. And he invited me to come to New York. And he gave me all his overflow studio recording work because I knew how to play, and I could also knew how to program the sounds of the synthesizer. And in the 80s, it was golden. There was like 5 guys in New York who could do that. Now there's 500 because you could push a button and get the sound, but we knew how to program it without pushing the button.
Right.
And then that's where I met Bernie and did the jingles and the records, and and I also, at the same time, I also met the guy who hired me for the Devils. So that was like the progression.
Just go back a bit. Where did you grow up? I mean, you went to Indiana, but
I grew up
university.
in Chicago.
Oh, right. Okay.
Chicago, and my university was about 3 hours southeast down into Terre Haute, Indiana.
Right. Just go back to learning to play by ear. I mean, you learned a basic keyboard first, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't playing piano. I was literally playing organ
All the
and
time.
all the time. I didn't play piano until I got to university.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about organ, particularly church organ,
Right.
and at the age of 11, playing by ear, had you learned all the stops and all that stuff? All the
Sure. That was part of learning to be an organist. You had to do what you correctly called it, the stops. We call the combination of stops is called the registration.
Right.
Right. So, like just before I had a sound, here's a different sound. That's a different sound we'd have for organ. And then with the Devils, I have this kind of a sound.
Right.
Those are all changing the stops to achieve a particular registration.
And when you started with the Devils, what kind of I mean, I assume, just like everything else, the technology has advanced so much. I remember in another conversation we had, you talking about, when you started, you had to carry around 42 tons of equipment. Now it's all in your pocket.
Yes. I did. Fortunately, the Devils had a keyboard, but it was brought in by whoever was playing at the time. So that's kind of why they had me come in, because they knew I could bring the correct keyboard, and they knew that I could play it and have the right sounds and all that. So I had specifically, you know what? I think it's this keyboard that I'm playing right now. Yeah, I think it is. I brought this keyboard in, but then I left it. It's not a big organ. When I first started playing for the Devils, they didn't have an organ. They had a keyboard player. Okay. So I had this keyboard and I had to program it to do this. Like here's like a Let's Go Devils. So now I don't know if you could see it, but my hands are split. This is the right part. This is the
Right.
drums. The Let's Go Devils. Everybody claps, clap, clap.
Mhm.
There we go. So yeah, and this keyboard at the time, I had many keyboards. So I was fortunate enough to be able to leave this keyboard at the Devils Arena all the time. So I would just walk in, push the power button, off we go. So that was really convenient for me.
Well, here's a really stupid question. You,
Hey, that's
you
my
had-
job.
Peter.
Yeah, that's his job.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's a giant arena,
Yes.
and you got a keyboard. What is the amplification system
Oh my gosh.
and the speakers and all that?
State, that was not part of my job, because that was all run by the union. But they had your typical in arena stadium sound system with multiple speaker arrays hanging from the ceiling, a rack of power amps producing, who knows how many thousands of watts and decibels of power, and a huge audio board. I don't have an audio board to show you. I have some pictures I could show you later. And I would plug in, and it would go to the audio board. The audio board was connected to the amplifiers. The amplifiers connected to all the speakers, and turn the volume up, and boom, we have a massive sound. So you could have a really puny sound, and it would sound, like the heavens were opening up, because the sound system was great. And that was in 2001. The one we have now at Prudential Center is, technology-wise, 100 times better and
Right.
more powerful and more audioistic, if I could use that word. It's really clear sounding and very full and powerful.
And you got no kind of engineer, mixer, nobody else. It's just you.
Yeah.
Just you. and the-
Well, now I do a little bit of mixing now for myself, but back then, no. I plugged in, and we have an audio engineer that does all that. He takes the sound from the keyboard. He takes the sound from the guy who announces all and the gold number 86, Jack Hughes. There's an announcer in arena, and you hear that on the loudspeakers. He controls the volume for all of that. He controls the volume for all the video replays that we have. For all the referees will say penalty on number 17, Shimon Nemec, for 2 minutes for slashing. He will announce that, and that will also go to the audio board. So that guy's got a really important job. He's got multiple faders. I don't know if you guys know what faders are. When you see an audio board, it's like these little sliders, right? He's got an audio board bigger than my room here, and each one of those sliders is a different source: organ, video, announcer, ref, the whole thing. So he's got his hands full during a Devils game.
Plus, he's got to cut out anybody going, oh,
Yeah, right.
Yes. Well, in his defense, our audio, our announcer has what we used to call in the business. You got my know this, a cough button. So he could hit the cough button and cough,
Yep.
and then like right now, I have it on my mic. I'm gonna keep talking and watch, and then I'm back in. So that's what we call the mute button or the cough button. But the audio engineer has that as well.
no delay.
Sometimes there is a bit of a delay. I've noticed about a 35 millisecond delay in our new arena. It used to be a lot more until we got the new audio board. But yes, there is a bit of a delay. And as a matter of fact, I accompany our anthem singer. So to play the national anthem. Right? I'm playing along with her. I accompany her. And there was a bit of a delay. So I had the audio engineer a system where I could put in my headphones. I could hear her microphone directly into my headphones along with the organ. So I would have no delay, zero delay. Right. But if you look up on the Jumbotron, you could see her singing, and it was a little bit of a delay. I couldn't deal with that because I had to accompany her. I needed to really hear what she was singing.
Yeah.
So that's really great. And I have my own little tiny mixer. It's about this big next to me at the organ. And I plug in the organ, and I plug in the intercom system so people can talk to me. And I plug in the anthem singer's microphone, and then I mix it. So when I'm playing, I'm hearing crystal clear audio like I'm in the recording studio.
Right.
And I know go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I feel I'm monopolizing.
Oh no! By all means, good. I mean, all I was going to say is like I was lucky enough. I was last year. I got to actually go out to a Devils game and see Peter in action, or Pete in action, and you actually explained to me that you really do have a whole it's like a team of that what you guys do there, because
Oh my
the
God.
game, like what they do, it's an amazing production. It's like obviously the hockey game is great too, but on top of that, they've really intermixed an amazing production as far as the lights, the sounds, everything they do. It's incredible. And there's you have a team of people that kind of work with you and put that together, right?
Yes, it's an amazing team. We call it not television, we call it Rock Vision because we're at the Rock. But the Rock Vision crew, must be about 30 of us. See if I could start naming them all. We have two lighting operators, 3 audio engineers, 10 video replay engineers, 2 technical directors, a DJ, an organist, 2 wireless cameras, 8 stationary cameras, and an in-arena host. And the director, who's amazing, Joe Cucci, he directs us all because we listen to him. He goes, okay, Pete, play. Okay, lighting, I need this. Okay, roll this video. Okay, audio, mute this. Okay, announce the goal. He's running the whole show. So when you're in the arena, you're looking at the Jumbotron, you're like watching the television show of the hockey game. It's a production. I have my entire game is scripted down to the second. From the minute I start playing until we say goodnight. It's literally scripted to the second. I could show you guys a script. I could share that with the pictures if you want.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please.
So basically, ThunderCats was an absolute doddle compared to.
Well, my God, I mean, ThunderCats you were part of it. There were writers, there were editors, there were audio engineers, there were video editors, there were camera operators, there were what's the word? CG, computer generated graphics. There's animation. I mean, it's the same for ThunderCats. It's an amazing team of people.
Yeah, actually, probably the same as you're talking about. I mean, with Buddha and I have talked about this a lot, and with other people. I mean, the crew was so small on ThunderCats in general. Oh
Wow.
God, I mean, in general, the recording crew too. I think. I mean, there were so few of us, which was an incredible advantage because we didn't have 500 people in suits, or people who basically are hard to do. I'm never quite sure what, except that I know that because they're being paid, they have to say something, no matter how stupid it is. Of course, occasionally, one would hope, depending on the production, more often than not, it's something sensible, but quite often it's something absolute. I mean, Chris will tell you, we had this character we need to be, God, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it was something to do with motivation. Oh yeah, his motivation needs to be more motivated. Now, if you're a writer or a director or whatever you are, or an actor, okay, what does that mean? And you can't. I mean, a lot of again, Wood and I talked about this. I mean, he can't keep his mouth shut, and I can't keep my mouth shut. So, but,
Ah,
but there are an awful lot of people in, and understandably, the jobs are at stake. They
sure.
can't say, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Now, I have to ask,
Uh,
So,
was that
yeah,
motivation, these more motivating line a Jules Bass note, or where did that come down the line?
I missed that, Buddha.
Oh, what was that, a Jules Bass note? The motivating need, or his motivation needs to be more
No, no,
motivating?
no, 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 no.
Oh,
That
okay,
was,
okay.
I think that came from a story editor
Okay.
who, and I think it was their first job, and I think their previous job was secretary.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think they'd ever written a script. I mean, Chris will tell you that. It's really his story. And by the way, we ought to get Chris and Pete on the same show. Chris Strengo was one of the writers, also a
oh,
musician,
oh.
and you know, had his own band,
Mm-hmm.
played with Muddy Water. I mean, all the blues, that kind of blues train that went to England at that time. And Chris and his mate John Dummer and so on and so forth, they all backed those artists in addition to having their own band. And it would be an interesting conversation, I think, you and Chris. But going back to music, and by the way, Buddha also is a musician, so
I
Yeah,
know.
well, use that term very loosely. You're being very kind in calling me a musician. I
We've
mean,
talked about Buddha's rock and roll days. I know all about you.
right, right. Well, I think most of his rock and roll was actually off stage, but we won't bore.
that's just you
Uh,
haven't seen
you
the
go,
live
just
performance. I'll
going
send you
back
some
to
live
your
show
back.
stuff.
Sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
send you some live show stuff. You'll see. Some of it. Well, okay, yeah, a lot of it was off stage, but even on stage, there was a good amount on stage too.
We should put some of that up.
Yeah, I love to see that.
Yeah,
I think YouTube might pull it right down immediately. But hey, I'm down.
no, no, we should definitely put it up. But Pete, just go back, reel back just a moment.
Sure.
I think you're the. I mean, I've been involved with musicians. I can't. I mean, it's a great regret that I've never. In fact, what happened with me is exactly the opposite to you.
Mhm.
I started learning the piano, and I ran into a teacher at the age of about 11 who just hated me,
Oh no.
and I have no idea why, but she was awful. And at
Oh,
that point, I said, "Okay, that's it. I'm not doing this,"
that's
which is
terrible.
insane.
I hate to hear stories like that because
Yeah, no, no,
music is such a wonderful thing for a child.
yeah, yeah. Well, no, no, and I mean, I love music, and if I had enough money, I'd make a kind of worldwide music anthropology collection document.
Well, Buddha can loan you some money.
Yeah,
He's wealthy,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I
Living
think,
in luxury.
yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, but just so going back to your early days, I think
Uh-huh.
you're the only musician I've ever heard of who started by playing the organ and never got to piano until he was an adult. Really,
Really? That's a very
I think,
interesting thought.
yeah.
Um, I'm wondering if I know of anyone. I mean, I know a lot of keyboard players, but I don't know their history. So I would have to sort of, take a survey. But
Yeah, I mean, I would think that most people who, I mean, I understand starting with a Casio and I get that, but at some point, I would have thought. I mean, I have no idea. We should explore it. That most keyboard players would say, "Okay, let me get your piano."
Yeah.
well, my parents had a lot to do with that. Okay, because they were very musical and they were Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers type Arthur Murray dancers.
Right.
So there was music playing in the house all the time. And, for some reason, they would play a lot of organ music. Like there was a guy from the 60s named Jimmy Smith, a great jazz organist. He had
Oh
this
yeah,
kind of sound.
yeah.
It was that kind of sound. And I would be listening to that. So I thought, I like that. Why don't we, let me play some organ. So that had a lot to do with it. So I never really had piano lessons.
But
Literally.
did you go through the whole mellotron phase?
Mellotron was something that I came across long after I become a studio musician, because the keyboards that I was playing had like mellotron type sounds, which I can show you what I don't know, Sean, if you know what that means or not. Okay. Here, a mellotron was a keyboard, but just like this one with all 88 notes, and you would push a key and it would trigger a loop, a tape loop, an actual piece of tape with a recording of an instrument on it that the Beatles used a lot. Like the
Right.
beginning of Strawberry Fields was like a flute sound, doo 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 doo, like that.
Right.
And you could change the tapes and it would get a string, a violin, but but the classic mellotron sound was this. Orchestral strings. Okay, so I didn't even know what a mellotron was till I became a recording studio musician in New York. And at that time, this keyboard was emulating all the sounds that a mellotron could do electronically. So the mellotron was a nightmare to maintain. I mean, you imagine it was like in a row, tape, 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 each with a different note and a different sound, right?
Jeez.
I was a member of the orchestra for Beatlemania Broadway show in Chicago, and I played a mellotron. So I didn't really get to know what a mellotron was until that I started doing studio work. But yeah, mellotron, and now Mellotron has come out with a digital issue of their original tape mellotron. So yeah, mellotron's a cool instrument.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so let's go to SilverHawks
Ah.
Oh yeah.
and the Copper Kid.
Okay. So my agent, you know his name,
Scott.
I can't.
Scott.
Scott.
Your current age. Yeah, Scott.
Right?
Yeah.
He called me up and he said, "Hey, I heard you were the voice of Copper Kid." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you know, you were listed as the voice of Copper Kid." I said, "Scott, I'm not a voice actor. I mean, there must be some mistake. It's fraudulent. It's whatever it is."
Mhm.
So I hung up the phone and I Googled SilverHawks Copper Kid and I heard this. Hi, I'm Copper Kid. And I said, "I'll be damned. That was me." So I called him back right away. He said, "Yeah, Scott, it's me. I'll do it. I'll do it." And the way I created that song was we were in the studio with SilverHawks. By the way, SilverHawks, hold on. You might recognize this. Okay, that was the theme for SilverHawks. And that we created that with the synthesizer keyboard.
Right.
But we were in the studio and we were doing all these what we talked about before, recording sound effects, right? Filling up the banks. So whoosh, a sparkle, an explosion, a roar, whatever it was. And I don't remember who it was, but they said, "We need a sound for this character. It has to be kind of robotic." Okay. So I was one of the few guys in New York studio scene that had this instrument called a vocoder in my rack of that we talked about, Peter, my huge rack, 8 feet tall. It was a very large device. And you
Right.
plug a mic into it, you plug your keyboard into it, and it would do all the transforming. And then you would get this kind of sound. I'm the voice of Copper Kid. And you can also change the pitch. If you want to be down here, or you want to be down here. But the Copper Kid voice classically was in this range. So
Yeah. It was damn nearly as annoying as Snarf.
I know who's the other voice actor? Is Peter Lawrence? No, not Peter.
Peter Newman.
Peter Newman. I have this at the live shows. Whenever he's walking by me, I'll go, "Hi, Peter," and he'll like, he gets very annoyed with me. But so I mean, I don't remember exactly the transgression from how we came for the idea to get that sound, but I think they might have described what he was doing, and we looked at the script,
Mhm.
and we need him. Who was the character with the cowboy hat that he had interaction with?
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass.
Yep.
They say Bluegrass and Cowboy Kid, they're going to have a dialogue, and it's educational, and we want him to have some quick, short answers. But he was an alien, so he's got to have an alien sound.
Mhm.
So we did that, and we experimented, and I turned the vocoder around, and it was like such a new sound that no one had ever heard. It's like, oh, gotta have it. But now it's very common. I mean, you hear a lot of this kind of stuff on radio. You'll hear a lot of that stuff in sound these days. There's so many
Right.
people who use vocoders just actually sing their whole song.
Right.
Oh yeah. I had a question. If you remember, like, so with those conversations about explaining to you what they were looking for, was that Lee Dannacher explaining like that's we need a voice for this character type of a thing, or do you remember who that was? Kind of giving you that information.
I wanna say Bernie, but Lee may
with
have
Bernie.
had some kind of input, but most of my direction came from Bernie.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, she was the producer. Once she heard the sound, then she could run with it.
Yeah.
But to initiate my initial creativity, a lot of it came from Bernie.
Okay.
So, did you also do Melodia?
Melodia, is that thing that John Batiste plays on the Late Show? It's got like a thing. It's like
It's
a
like-
mouthpiece.
No, Melodia the character.
What is it?
Melodia the character in SilverHawks.
she had
The instrument. There's an instrument called a melodia. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe I did. What did it sound like?
Well, no. So Melodia, she was actually voiced by Maggie Wheeler, but she played the guitar. That was like her weapon type. That was a musical weapon basically, and she would play notes and whatnot from that. It would shoot out beats.
Yeah, no, that was not me.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's a good thing because that was annoying too.
And I mean, with the vocoder, I did another commercial called Transformers.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. That's a very interesting.
Robots in disguise.
That was 1984. Actually, that was my first vocoder job, and ThunderCats was actually my second. So in '84, we did the Transformers thing.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So, Pete, did you have no interaction with Jules Bass at all?
Just at the company picnic, I believe I might have met him.
It's funny. I actually wanted to bring that. It was going to be something I was going to bring up towards the end, but since you brought it up, like, it's because actually when the one show when Pete and I were driving to Connecticut for a show, he came out to a show with me. We were driving at the time that we were going through New York, and I forget he saw the exit, and like, oh yeah, we go right out there, and that was where we had there was the company, the Rankin Bass picnic.
Yeah, I was very honored to be invited to that. Lee was there, Bernie, Jules, they were all there. It was quite a lot of fun.
I know there is a photo online that I've seen it before. I think actually Peter, we were talking the other day. I think it was I think Larry Frank actually shared that photo before.
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken, I think again, obviously I don't know. I think Peter's in. Well, I know Peter's in one of the photos, and I think you were also in that.
Really?
Pete. It's like a group shot of.
That's funny. Yeah, you could share that with me. I'd love to see it.
Oh yeah. Well,
I've only seen two. We had a company thing at my house,
okay.
and I've only got two pictures of that.
Okay.
One actually with John Crenshaw is fairly prominent tremendous personality. It doesn't matter whether he's one of 15 people in a photograph. Their eyes go to John Crenshaw. And the other is of Jules and Arthur and me. And Arthur, I'm probably slandering him. Arthur was I liked Arthur. He was a very charming guy, regardless of all the other stuff we talked about. But I don't think Arthur knew anything about any of those shows. I mean, he went to Tokyo And because Masaki was like a son to him. I mean, Masaki was for anybody who doesn't know, was the head of Pacific Animation Corporation, and Pacific Animation Corporation was the animation house. And Masaki was a very, very funny guy. I mean, and he and Arthur together were, a riot. So Arthur went to Tokyo. I don't know how much work he did there, but I remember saying to Arthur one time, I'm sorry, this is a real digression. I remember saying in Tokyo to Arthur one time, it was about, I don't know, like 6 o'clock at night, or 7 or 8 or so. I said, Arthur, come on, let's go out. And he said, well, where to, my boy? And I said, I don't know, you know Tokyo better than me. Let's go and have some, some fun. He said in a very tired voice, there's nothing I haven't done. No, I didn't call Masaki and say, come on, let's go and have a meal, But like I said, I honestly, I don't think Arthur knew what time of day it was when it comes to ThunderCats, SilverHawk, or comic strip.
Wow. Great.
I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, and his ghost will send down a thunderbolt, and we'll send up a thunderbolt probably.
Yeah. No, I never met them. I mean, like in the creative process. Just that one time, I might have seen them at the party, but no, I
That's
was.
something, though, isn't it? I mean, why not? Or that's very
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of removed from that. I was like kind of like a hired hand, so I wasn't part of the family, so to speak.
Yeah, but I guess it's all a matter of personality. I mean, for me, there's that curiosity. I mean, I now regret very much that I never had any interaction with the sound crew.
Mm,
I mean, I met Bernie, and sometimes you connect with somebody. I mean, I think when we first talked, we kind of made an immediate connection. I never had a connection with Bernie. I don't know why. Um, and that sometimes just happens,
yeah,
But
yeah, I
I,
understand that.
when
Well,
I
I'm
spoke
sorry
to
that
Larry,
he didn't. He was a tremendous guy, which you could have been.
no, I wish we could get him on, but I think he's completely closed down on
Yeah.
Rankin Bass for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I talking to Larry, talking to Mike Unger, I suddenly realized, God, I missed out. Not on the work, because that wasn't my part, but just on the personalities.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think fans will kind of almost kind of surprised to learn, which it makes total sense. We just think so differently, but there's obviously there's so many different departments when it comes to the ThunderCats, SilverHawks, all the shows that, and from the fan mind, we all think, oh, they all know each other, but really, like you said, like you didn't really interact with a lot of the people. I know a lot of the writers didn't go to the voice actor sessions or the recording sessions, and why? Like, what are the voice actors aren't going to go to the office while the writers are writing, or while again, like, well, Pete, you're there with Bernie, you guys are working on the music. It's just funny from a fan point of view, and I know now things are a little different because people going to shows and kind of that the live show aspect of things are changing a bit. But yeah, it's very, very interesting how all that, like, fans, I'm sure anytime Peter or Pete, if you mention, oh yeah, I've never actually met insert name here, it takes everyone by surprise. I know it still takes me by surprise when, like, talking with Larry Kenny, and he's like, oh yeah, me and Peter haven't actually met before. And
Yeah, right. That's right. I never met them till
Yeah.
I started doing the shows for Scott. I never met because they were always on a different session.
Yeah. And that's a whole other thing. Actually, we talked to Larry about it. I think what we might do, and Buddha and I have talked about this, is at some later point, we might get everybody who is involved in anything to do with the audio tracks. We got Larry and Mike and you and Daddy and Matthew Malik and
Sure. That'd be fun.
and so on and so forth in the Beyond Thundera together.
Yeah.
And I think that probably Buddha and I could just go and have a meal somewhere while you just react.
Yeah, they could probably help me remember exactly what happened.
That's what, yeah.
But I think it would be very interesting because it's a genuine behind the
Yeah.
scenes. The question I have, and again, Buddha and I have discussed everything, as I mean, this as we have just about everything in the world. I don't know how interested the sort of the Thundercat aficionado is in in the kind of detail, but to me, it's fascinating. So we put it out there and see what happens.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, obviously could be wrong, but I think fans love the behind the scenes stuff, and this is stuff that they've never got to hear. You hear, especially nowadays too, all these different shows everywhere. A lot of people have podcasts, so a lot of information about different shows is coming out, and it has been for a long time. It never has for ThunderCats and SilverHawks and whatnot. I think fans are actually absolutely going to love this type of stuff. And going back to what you had said about when we get everybody together, like Pete, how you said, like you'll help remember getting everyone together. That will get so many different memories going. Like, oh, I actually remember that day.
Right.
Whatever it was. Like, Pete, your keyboard died that day, and it screwed everything up. And it was like, oh crap, we got to get a new keyboard in here because we have to get out of the studio by 1 o'clock. And just stories like that. It's just fun, and bringing that type of stuff back. And I think bringing everyone together, it'll be like Peter, like you said, we don't even need to be there. That stuff will just naturally happen in these casual type conversations of, again, it happens with just friends when you talk, is everyone remembers something different, and it can trigger some new things.
For sure.
Yeah, well, Mike Unger has a great story. When everything was incredibly pushed, the schedules, if you didn't get something out by 4:30, the whole show would be delayed by 7 years or whatever it was. And they had put all the tapes in the wrong boxes.
Oh God.
They only realized, the night before it was all due to be picked up. Unfortunately, he had a key to the studio.
Wow.
So they went in and working like maniacs.
Wow.
They managed to get it just before the pickup. And Lee came in just before the pickup and looked at it all and said, "Oh, it's gone really well, hasn't it?" Knowing nothing at all about the drama and all the disaster,
That's great.
But going back to the crew, and it's odd really, because there was that separation. I mean, obviously you weren't involved in the voice recording, which anyway is a very completely different technique.
Correct.
The voice guys weren't involved with you. I wasn't involved in any of the recordings, and yet this was a tiny crew. I mean, when I compare it to the shows that I did in California, we had casting directors and voice directors, and I mean, Lee directed voices. She had 17 jokes on the show. And we had this person and that person and this audio editor and the strings editor and the bass drum editor. I mean,
I know.
see, I'm bullshitting, but you couldn't possibly know everybody. I mean, you walked into a building where there were 150 people or whatever it was.
Jeez.
And ThunderCats, I don't know, they could have put everybody in a one-room caravan, I think,
Oh yeah, right. That's why to me was seeing that one photo. I will share that photo with you, Peter. It's not my photo, so I don't know if we can go ahead and put it up there. We'll have to talk to Larry Frank about the photo that I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it's cool at least seeing so much of the crew together, and obviously you guys will probably be able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's insert all the names here, because I only know a few of the people that are in it. But
how many people in the picture? Roughly.
I'm going to say at least 10, maybe. Again, I'm not 100%. But yeah, it was definitely, it was definitely at a picnic. It was because you're all outdoor. And I think in one of the comments or whatever, because it was posted on, I believe it was Facebook, they talk about it was actually at the company picnic or barbecue or whatever. I forget the exact wording of it. About the actual, the company picnic, any fun or interesting stories from that? Because that's everyone, you don't have to work at those. So does anyone have any remember anything fun, even if it was like the softball game that no one cared about? Like, it was just something silly that happened.
My involvement was pretty, on the down low. I think I was there and, had some barbecue, talked to a few people. It was like a couple of hours of an event for me. So, And it's really a long time ago. I just kind of remember going there, but I think Lee might have been there and Bernie and, but I really don't remember much of it.
I imagine everybody's. It was in that. What was the name of the park? Anthony. It's a.
It was up in Westchester.
Yeah.
That much. I was off the Taconic Parkway.
Yeah. It's not the Anthony Mann, but some name like that park. And I'll tell you, I mean, the only thing I remember about it was at Dennis Woodyard. We had this softball game. I don't know anything about softball. I was to me, baseball, softball, ridiculous games. But I mean, so it doesn't matter what I think. And Dennis, who's obviously a considerable athlete, hit a ball so high and so far, I should have ignored it because it was way, with the home run.
Wow.
And it was so high and so far that I had time to pick up one of those huge garbage cans that they have in most parks and run toward the ball and catch it. Yeah, that's the only thing I remember about that big.
Wow.
Oh, great! It's so funny. I had no idea it was actual
I
softball.
don't think I did catch it. I think it bounced up.
No.
Wow.
Oh,
Crazy.
man.
Yeah.
That's great. When we have Dennis on, we definitely have to talk about that, see if he remembers. Because again, you caught a ball, well, attempted to catch a ball with a trash can. Like you're definitely not from the U.S., huh, Pete?
Not entirely, no. I just no. I mean, like, I can remember. I think the Mets were hot then. I don't remember, but yeah, I can remember watching games and enjoying them. But the whole kind of mythology of baseball. Actually, we had on the crew a young woman whose name was Musial, or whatever.
Wow.
Stan Musial. Is that how you pronounce it?
Stan
Very-
Musial. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was either, I think I mean, niece or
Really?
be daughter.
Yeah. He was a famous player from the St. Louis Cardinals, I believe.
Okay. But she was on the crew.
Wow. Crazy.
Really? Yeah,
She was useless at softball. That's a complete lie. I don't know.
well, I got a surprise for you, Peter. She's been listening this whole time.
Actually, I've tried to contact her to get on the website, and I got several contacts like Heather, for example, Heather Winters, and who actually wrote a script for us, and she hasn't come through with anything, but that's fine. If you don't want to, you don't want to.
And actually, speaking of that, for the website, again, I know Pete's also been on it. Again, it's at gpeterlawrence.com, where you do your Thundercat of the day, and it's kind of stories about everyone, kind of and what we do here, but it's getting to tell their their story with the show, how they came on and everything. And I know Pete, you've been on it. It was a great read.
Yeah, it was tremendous. Peter and I had a great time doing that.
Yeah, no, it's good, and we need to carry on doing this because, again, assuming that anybody's interested, I just think there's so much background material that is in a way more interesting than the foreground material that we all know now. So how it all came about. I mean, how you met Bernie, and I other things from our interview. The way that everything has become miniaturized and so much easier
Mhm.
to be mobile than it was.
Yes.
There's just a lot of interesting things like that.
Actually, kind of going on that. I know we've been all over the place here. I know, well, funny enough, Pete. Well, how Pete and I actually started talking was because I interviewed him for the Hall of Homies Thunderverse book. That was our first connection.
Right.
And I know we talk about it in the book, but for if they're not able to get their hands on it, can you talk about you said miniaturized? This is what reminded me the gear that you would use back in the 80s to do all this, because I know it's a lot different now. I kind of touched on that, how you can fit it on your pocket now, but I know there's a lot of gear heads out there, a lot of musicians that are interested in the actual gear that was used. If you could kind of talk about that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, when I was first doing studio work in New York, I remember telling Peter I had a rack. A rack is like a cabinet that's 19 inches wide because all the gear was specifically 19 inches. And one rack space would be about 1 inch. So I had so much gear. All my stuff was 3 or 4 rack spaces. And I had maybe 5 or 6 of those things. So you can imagine, I had 2 racks stacked on top of one another. There's about 8 feet tall. And in each one of those pieces of 19-inch 3 rack space gears was a keyboard, a mixer, a vocoder, an equalizer, a processor, a digital delay. Now, like you said, it's all in my phone, but not literally. Now I could do it with a Macintosh Lapbook Pro and a keyboard and a what's called an interface, an audio interface. So you have the keyboard, it plugs into the audio interface. You have the computer plugs into audio interface, and you are on your way. There's a program called MainStage that everyone uses now. I have it on this computer, and it's just incredible. Any sound at your fingertips like that,
Right.
and then you could create your own sounds and store them and map them out on the keyboard. You can have roars and explosions and drums, and it's really come a long way.
We were talking with Kyle the other day,
Yeah. Kyle Lambert. Yeah.
Kyle Lambert, sorry, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
whose career, I mean, he's a lot younger than me, but his career basically started artist in the days when you actually drew things,
Right.
and then crossed over into where we are now. And he talked a lot about developing his own specific electronic digital paintbrushes and so on and so forth.
Sure.
One of the things that always strikes me, and I probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about, is that in the music business, there are so many people now who basically have no musical education.
Yeah.
But they are composing and producing music for shows or for themselves or whatever it is. And I guess, from the audience's point of view, if they don't care,
Yep.
why should I?
I
Yeah,
know
I
it's
do
troubling.
care. When I listen to something like when I go on, for example, Playing for Change, which is all live and is hardly there's very little digital technology in it. It's so moving compared with an entirely digitized world.
It's troubling. A friend of mine who I did a podcast with called the Let's Go Devils podcast, he reports on games after every game night. He'll report. He played me a track that was produced by AI completely. This guy is, he's a broadcaster. He doesn't know anything about music, but he said to AI, write me a song about this. And they did the lyrics, they sang it, they played all the instruments, and it's like it was really good. I mean, if I didn't know it was AI, I'd say, "Wow, I want to meet this person," and that was very troubling to me.
Yeah.
Very, very troubling that people are going to start buying into this. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you go back a bit, there's a wonderful documentary it's called something like, I don't know, 8 Feet from Stardom. Basically, it's about the backup singers of all those classic
Sure.
R&B, yeah. And at the end of that, they're basically saying, well, there's no work for us, there's no job for us because you can bring your mother and your brother and your dog and this, that, in and just auto-tune everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean, does that matter? I don't know whether it matters to me.
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
there's some background singers who actually made a living and they knew how to navigate. For one, the studio we recorded all the sound effects for ThunderCats and SilverHawks was Barry Manilow's jingle studio.
Right.
He was a jingle writer and a singer and a piano player. Boom, he went on. He was background. He went on. There's another great singer, R&B singer named Luther Vandross,
Right.
who was a background singer, just background on jingles. Bam. He's a multi-megastar. He's since passed, but he's, so there are those stories where you could be in the background and then catapult yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Kevin Hopkins, I mean, a very English comic book artist, very, very, very well known, just as an experiment, threw his pencils into AI to color. And he said, it came out, you just wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know. I said, I just don't know I don't know whether that's evolution and it matters. I don't know whether it matters that, you can have an animation script written by a computer and the whole thing designed. And in fact, I told you about this Indian guy that called me the other day that I worked with some years ago, who very excited. I've got a new system. Send me something. I want to produce an animatic. Actually, he wants to produce animation. I literally sent him 2 pages from a book of mine, children's book, with about 4 illustrations. And he said, yeah, that's enough.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the result yet, but
Yeah.
I don't know whether it matters. Somehow it matters to me, and somehow I hope that there'll always be a difference between original composing. I mean, when I say original, I mean material that is original in its concept. I can understand how all these AI systems can copy or can emulate or simulate.
Scary.
But can they really do something that's completely original?
This song that I heard was pretty original. I have to tell you.
It wasn't in the genre.
No, it was just he just said, do this and do that, and here's a few words that you could extrapolate on, So
Oh wow.
scary.
Oh well. Okay, off to get the pension then.
Right.
Well, yeah. Here's hoping all that doesn't happen. The AI stuff it's nuts, especially again for talented people that again, whether you're a writer, you're an artist, whether you're a musician, the AI is kind of taking those jobs and passions away from people because you don't need to do that anymore. Well,
Yeah.
I hate to say that you don't need to do it, but it's just kind of replacing that because we'll have a generation that doesn't know to be passionate about that
Right.
because all they had to do was type in their phone,
Right.
whatever it was. I want a song about this. I
It
need
should
a
just
picture
be
about this.
it should just be a tool. I mean,
Yeah.
have you heard of Tilly Norwood? Anybody?
No.
And what?
Tilly Norwood is
No.
an actress, but
No.
she's not. She is AI creation. When we're finished here, you should look her up. It's scary. As a matter of fact, she's British. She's a 30-year-old
Oh, yeah,
British
yeah.
AI actress that's completely AI. And there were so many SAG and AFTRA actors in Hollywood that were really, really vocal about this actress. Tilly Norwood, Tilly Norwood. Look it up.
So, but then, eventually what happens, I mean, God forbid, and I don't mean this nastily at all, the current crop of actors and, will be gone one day. I mean, just like we will. Well, I would, not everybody else will. And, and then, if everything's created by AI, does the audience care? That's my question.
Right.
Because over the years, if you look at literature, basically it's the writing and the genres and the number of authors has all become much narrower. The spectrum of success I'm talking about. Obviously, there are still people who write crazy stuff about and sell 3 copies of a book, like me, for example. But
And me.
so, but if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, everybody was, they smashed machines because it was taking their jobs away. But after a period of time, nobody cares.
Sad.
And
That's
in
very
the
sad.
next number of years, who's going to care that everything's AI or
Well,
AGI?
we care. That's what's important.
No, I
Exactly.
agree. I care. I care enormously. And they talk about evolution. I think it's backward evolution myself. But that's just, I guess, our age, probably, and also the fact that I really respect anybody who comes up with anything original.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Because we always say that. I mean, if you just talk about writing, I'm sure it's the same with music, or maybe not actually, and that's something you should answer. There are only 5 ideas, or 7, or 11, or 3. I mean,
Right.
everybody can argue about that. And
You're
it's
right.
it's a question of what you do with them.
There's only 12 notes.
Exactly. Exactly. So what do you do with them?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
True.
Well, so I kind of want to steer things, and because we're going to be wrapping up here shortly,
Okay.
but obviously we're talking about AI, and it's all in the whatever world of it, but whatever you want to call that. But it's not. It's real, but not real. One of the things I want to ask you about, Pete, is I know last year you kind of got to do some more live events, more than you had in previous years. What is you're so it's like you're kind of new to it, you're getting to go around. I got to see you back last November in was we were at Retro Toy Con in South Carolina. It was a fantastic show. What has that experience been like for you, getting to now meet these fans face to face? And I know when we were in Connecticut, someone brought out an original script to show you and have autographs and whatnot. And to editors from Marvel, they came out and they were talking to you. What's the experience been like for you in the whole live show circuit and getting to meet fans like face to face and talk to everyone?
I have to say, I didn't know anything about that world, those shows. I'd heard of a Comic-Con, but I didn't really know what it was, never been to one. So when I first got to my first one, I said, wow, there's a whole new world out here, and I could be included in it. It was fantastic for me. I had no idea that people were so passionate and interested in shows of, from the 80s, like ThunderCats and SilverHawks, and even all the other shows too. So for me, it was a real rebirthing and yet another way of reinventing myself in my old age. But a singer I work with in New York, I had told her about. Her name is Valerie Simpson. She's a songwriting Hall of Fame member from Ashford and Simpson. You guys know all of their songs. They wrote "I'm Every Woman" for Shaka Khan. They wrote songs for Diana Ross and the Supremes. Anyway, she said, good work never dies. And she's so right. I did this thing for Silverhawks, in the 80s, and 40 years later, Scott calls me up and says, I got a gig for you. So, it's incredible. I feel so blessed and honored to have been able to be introduced to this world of exposing the fans to what we do.
I know the fans are loving having you at the show. I know what's really cool. I don't know what you have planned this year, because obviously this year was your 25th season with the Devils, and you've got your 1000th game, which is amazing.
Yes.
And that takes up a lot of your time. So, doing the live events is hard during hockey season. But when you do the live events, you actually bring the vocoder with you, and fans literally get to hear Copper Kid. When you would think, you're like, how the hell am I ever going to hear Copper Kid? It's a very, electronic, but
I felt that as a necessity, because I'm not a vocal actor. I'm a musician, right? So if I could tell somebody what I did
Just by talking like this.
then I have completed my involvement to spike up the passion in that character, because I'm and even when we do the panels, like when I'm with the panel with Larry and Peter and Lynn, they could do their their voices like right on the mic, but I can't. I have to bring my equipment. So that's really the difference for me.
But you need to find a way of your motivation being more motivated.
Okay.
Oh man. Well, I think on that note, I think that's a good place to wrap things up.
Okay.
Pete, we would love to have you on again. Especially
Anytime,
when we-
guys. I love doing this with you guys. You guys are tremendous. And Peter, you got to come to New York and you got to hang out with us.
I've been telling them.
Delighted. I'd be delighted.
That would be awesome. I would love to meet you in person. We could, throw back a few Guinness and talk about the show.
Pete,
Yeah, and I know I
Peter,
have
come on out.
many other things too. Yeah, no, I'd be delighted. I will.
If it's during hockey season, we'll go to a hockey game and you'll get to
please,
see.
you would both be my guest. I'm a season ticket holder, and you would be my guest. I have 2 seats very close to the organ, and we'd have a great time.
That's actually one thing I'll let people know. When I actually got to go to the game, we will throw the video up here. I believe we can do that. It was an incredible experience. When I was talking to Pete, I was like, I put him on the, put him on the. I said, well, hey man, if I come any chance you can actually play the ThunderCats theme, SilverHawks theme? And
Right.
he said, yeah, of course. So I called his bluff. I went out to the game and he did it right there in full stadium. It was incredible. We'll play that video.
That's
It was
funny.
such a cool experience. And honestly, fans, if you're in the Jersey area, New York, PA, Delaware, get to the Devils games, go out, meet Pete, any of the other shows that he does. Oh, yeah, Peter, go ahead.
No, go. I'm sorry. No, go, I didn't mean to. I just.
Oh, no, I was just going to
I
say,
think,
I was,
I think you're going into a wrap up soon. I think.
oh,
You know
yeah,
what we
no,
should
well,
do?
before I got to that, I was literally just going to tell fans to annoy Pete and say, ask him to keep playing the ThunderCats theme or SilverHawks theme,
I'll
that
do it.
game, so he's got to do it every game.
I'll
So
do it.
eventually they'll have SilverHawks night at Prudential Stadium.
But
But
what I was going to say is, we should get Pete and Chris on the same show to play the ThunderCats theme.
Pete,
Pete on organ and Chris on the sax. And
Wow.
singing.
Okay, good. Let's do
all
it.
right. Oh, no,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Now we got to make that happen. And one day I'm going to keep annoying you, like, hey, Pete, want to do an intro for our podcast? Come on, man. What do we like? We just did like 5 seconds. Come on.
I would love to. I have my own studio here. I could create it without using AI.
Even better. Awesome, man. All right, guys. And before I keep throwing more stuff at you, Pete, we'll wrap this up now.
Okay.
Thank you so much again for joining us. We'll be talking again very, very shortly. We can't wait to have you back on to keep on going and
And
even
I,
talk
I-
more.
I love being here. I feel a really great camaraderie with the both of you, and I look forward to doing it again.
And so I know there's I believe we actually even talked some street frogs in the car while we were driving to Connecticut. I want to say we'll touch on that at another time because there's also some interesting stories there that Pete and Chris also have.
Great.
But yes, we'll get to that at another point. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Everyone, be sure to again if you see Pete at an event, go there. And until the next time, next show, whenever that's going to be, which should be next week. Just remember, everyone, ThunderCats ho.
ThunderCats ho.